the morning, sowing seeds of kindness, sowing in the noontide and the dewy eve, waiting for the harvest and the time of reaping. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheep.
Hi everyone, my name is Pastor John Amoa. We are here at Sturbridge Hotel and Conference Center for Southern New England Conference Seeds Church Planting. And we are very excited with the many people who have signed up and have been here from yesterday evening. And I'm here with our conference president, Pastor David Dennis. And I want to give him a chance to share a little bit about the focus of church planting at Southern New England Conference. Elder Dennis, good morning.
Thanks, Pastor.
I want you to share just a little bit about what we are doing at Southern New England Conference with regards to church planting.
Well, thank you, Pastor, for the opportunity to talk about this, because this is the place to be in Southern New England Conference today. We're almost geographically in the center of the conference right now, and actually this is the center where we need to be thinking about as we plan to finish the mission for God in the Southern New England Conference. Church planting, this is what being a Christ-like follower is all about. Because to reproduce ourselves as individuals, as church bodies, this is what God has called us to do. He's not called us to be permanent institutions in a town that just show up for 3 or 4 hours on a Sabbath day, but we're to impact the community each and every day. Not just Seventh-day Adventists, but Seventh-day Adventists in our communities. And so Seeds is about going out into these different communities that we've neglected over time, getting into those communities and showing them what Christ is really about, his compassion, his hope, and his desire for our future to be with him.
Thank you, Pastor. Christ began his church with 12 individuals.
Yes.
Why have we moved from that model to now a building? And what can we do to move away from the building or a church?
Well, yeah, he did. He started with 12, and his hope was, and we see it in the book of Acts, they went out and they impacted communities for Christ. The people in those communities then replicated themselves, and they taught other places, and this is how the church grew. We've taken on a model of church building or church organization that has really just stalled. We've become complacent to sit in one building, worship for a few hours on Sabbath, maybe do a few nice things here and there, do some programs for ourselves, but never really take serious the idea that I need to share Christ with the person I work with, to share Christ with my neighbor, to share Christ with my enemy even.
Pastor Dennis,
Yes.
as a president of a conference that covers a territory of almost 11 million, with a membership of a little over 18,000, what do you expect from this Seeds Church Planting Summit?
Well, I expect that as we leave from here, and when I say we, I mean the collective pastors and laity, I hope that we will walk away from here inspired by the biblical counsel that we're receiving this weekend. We've stalled as churches, we've set up little memorials in our towns that people will parachute into for a few hours every Sabbath, and once they're there, then they go home. But what we need to do is go back to the model of Christ, of the model of the book of Acts. And in that model, what we see is people going from community to community, sharing the love, sharing the hope, sharing the compassion of Christ. And when that happens, what we see is communities are impacted for Christ. We see the Apostle Paul tearing it up. I mean, people changed for, government changed for the preaching of Christ. And I hope our people will go away from here inspired, they will go away convicted, and that they will start, as I mentioned to you at different times, dipping their toe in the waters of church planting, and that we can gain momentum over time and fulfill the mission of Christ.
Okay.
And so this is really what we want to see coming out of here.
Yes. Recently you shared with me about your dream when you came out of the seminary to build or develop the largest church. What happened to that dream?
Pastor, that dream died.
Why?
It died because what I saw is you could work very, very hard. you could preach, and you could do evangelism. And the church, whatever membership number it was, it pretty much stayed there. And what we see is that each church only has so much energy for that particular congregation. What you need to do is go out and replant, start a new congregation. And I've experienced that. And what we see is that more people come into the kingdom as we plant, and plant.
Sometimes people have this idea that we have to fill every spot of the pew in the church before we go out and plant. But I have learned that if you empower the people, the church members, to go out and engage in church planting, it energizes the mother church. And so I pray that as we take part in this process of learning and being empowered, we will go back into our churches and engage in advancing the kingdom of God. What will be your last word for everyone who is listening to us?
Well, I would see that basically 4 things that we need to work on. We need to continue to plan. Mission happens as you plan. It doesn't happen by accident. We need to preach, whether that's vocally preaching or living it in our lives. The other thing is to plant the new churches, and then we're going to see them produce. So this is the work that we need to work on. And most of all, can't forget the seed. Each of us have been given a call from God to be His disciples. And as we serve, what we do, we are planting a seed for Christ.
Yes.
And so this is the work we need to do.
Thank you.
Bringing in the sheaves, we shall come rejoice.